You can spend thousands on brake pedals and still make trail braking 10 times harder than it needs to be. People think about load cell, hydraulics, pneumatic brake pedals, realism, stiffness equals performance, more price, more control. So they buy shiny pedal sets, copy random pro settings, and watch endless tutorials about trail braking and still struggle with it. I've been sim racing for years, have built multiple car setups for different simulators, and for me it's really important that my brake pedal actually does what I want it to do. And in this video, no matter what kind of simulation you drive or what kind of pedal set you have, it needs to tick these boxes to make the braking in a simulation predictable and repeatable. Let's go. Braking isn't hard because it's advanced. It's hard because sometimes your pedal is set up wrong. Some pedals block low pressure control, meaning you cannot do 1 or 2% of braking, it's immediately 10 or 20. Or when you hit the brake, they spike too fast. So you hit the brake pedal and all of a sudden you get like 60% brake input where you only wanted 20. Or when you release the brakes, they start to collapse. So for instance, you got 100% and it drops to 50 immediately and you want it like to drop to 70. So when these things happen, you as a driver, you're fighting the hardware and you might not even be aware of this. So I am not competing on the top level, but I do get around track a lot, and these kinds of settings that I'm using now, I don't pivot from. The ideas and settings and features that I have on my SimMagic P1000 is through like lots of iterations and different changes, and at this point I can confidently hit the brakes and like do exactly what I wanted to do. Before you can actually see if your brake pedal is set up correctly, you need an overlay, like this one. This one is from RaceLab apps. It's a little bit of a pain to set up. It's also a premium one, because I have all the other overlays. But think about an overlay. You can also have free ones, Tiny Pedal, Race Element. There are plenty of them. Have a overlay in your field of view as you're driving so you can measure it. Now the idea with this LMP2 car is that we bleed off the brakes, like you can see in the telemetry over there as well. And it should not be super complicated to make a trace like that. So if I hit the brakes here, brake, and I start bleeding off the brakes and trail braking like that, that should not be hard. If I wanted to trail brake, let's say you trail brake and you see this, or you see this happening. If you have a steady foot and you're bleeding off slowly and you see these traces, then that's gonna hurt your performance. So another thing your brake pedal should be able to do is this. And you don't have to do this in this corner, I believe, when you have hot tires, but you see these very minor touches? I actually have to press it for a decent distance to get like this really small fix. Now why do you want this? Well, if you're traveling high speed and your car is in a delicate situation, you want to touch the brake for a tiny percentage to load up the front tires for a minimal amount to create rotation in the car, but not to the extent where you lose control. If you cannot have 1, 2, 3% on your brake input and you would touch it and it immediately goes to like, let's say it would immediately do this, then you would lose control. Okay, so what should your brake pedal be able to do? Well, first it needs to do this 100%. I can keep it, I'm really pressing it firmly, but I don't have pain to keep it up. So a good rule of thumb would be 30 seconds, you should at least be able to hold the brake pedal, all right? Then you should be able to bleed it off like this, how iRacing braking goes, like the insane long brake traces, and then when they almost like to the 0%, like almost like that, boom. And you should be able to do very small brake inputs, And when you're touching it, it should not like jump immediately. Like now I'm touching it, so you make very small jumps. You should go to 80%, keep it there. Really tricky for me. You should be able to do 50%, then add it again, lower it again. You want to have this control, and you can, I really believe with all my heart, you can do it with 200, 300 euros pedals. You can also do it with 900 pedals, and you can do it with 3,000 euro pedals. But this is the goal. This is the goal. This is what you're chasing. Hey, and if you're liking this content this far, could you please hit that like button? That really helps me out. And check out the links in the description for some cool bonuses on VR headsets. Or check out my car setups for Le Mans Ultimate and Assetto Corsa Competizione. Let's keep going. Now, how long of a travel should your brake pedal be? Now, you can see in this clip that my brake pedal has a travel of like 5 centimeters in total. So you can see how I'm like, how much movement that 100% actually is. And when I start touching it a little bit, it already needs to travel for a couple of millimeters before the brake trace actually goes up. And you can see how much travel I have. And the, like you see this is the small touches, which gives me the little bit of percentages. Another thing I need to note here, when I hit it fully to the 100%, so the pressure is absolutely on the end, I can also not push the pedal further. So if I feel on my foot that it comes to a, I can feel it comes to a stop. And then I know it's 100%. Sometimes I've seen brake pedals on the Sim Racing Expo or whatever that I could constantly keep pressing it, or I could press it in a way that it was going to like stop the travel, but then I would be only on 50%. So if you have the setup, brake setup, and you hit the brakes and it cannot travel further, then it needs to be 100%, and that needs to be progressively. So it's gonna be harder and harder and harder to get to the 100% until you hit the stop. Before I explain this, I need to explain something else. This I just took off my load cell of my P1000 Sim Magic. And this is what I use. I use a hard spring or a red spring. And I have like a different types of elastomers and fillers. So I have only 2 elastomers, the soft ones, and 3 of the red aluminium fillers together with the spring. I don't say this is best or this is what you need to use, but it will also explain the curvature in the previous slide. So let's talk about it. And it's a combination of the elastomers, springs that I use, and the way I want the brake trace to act out, like I explained before in the video. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, when I hit the 100% over here, it means when I end the travel, so my brake pedal will not travel any further like this. Now I'm at 100%. Now I can press harder if I wanted to, but it's still 100%. For me, it's important that when I end the travel, it's gonna be like 100%. And it's a combination of the force that I can adjust and the dead zone over here. Also, I have this for this area as well. So it means I can touch, like the white line is the actual travel of the brake pedal and the load cell, but it's not reacting yet. Because, like, imagine I'm almost not even touching it and it already starts to brake. So that's, for me, it's too sensitive. So if I wanted to brake for like 3% to gain that minor rotation on that really fast corner with a GT3 car in the low wing, for instance, then I can touch the brake slow a little bit and it starts to travel already. And then I got that minor braking performance, right? That's why you have the dead zone. Now, then the curvature. And I'm not saying the curvature is something you must use, but when I put this linearly, my brake trace always makes a weird swing. So my brake trace would be like something like that. So I just changed this to get the curvature to get a brake trace that is like all the way going like this. And that's basically the reason how to set it up. And this is gonna maybe different for you or whatever. The most important thing about brake pedals before you buy one, you want to make sure it's on a rig that is rigid and strong, so you don't have flex on the rig. You want to have a pedal set that gives you the opportunity to change the position of this, like how much it can travel, and a load cell on how much pressure it produces, and being able to have software that can create the curvature. Now, last thing, definitely not least, is the haptic feedback of the ABS. And I think that is absolutely beautiful, because on some occasions, in some sims, or maybe future sims, there will be this idea that we should not be in the ABS, or we should be aware that we are in the ABS, and there is just not a better way to have just a haptic, like whispering to you, hey man, you're using the ABS at this moment. So I do believe in haptics. I think they're very, very useful. Does that mean I cannot race without haptics? Sure, but again, maybe I'm spoiled, but let me know what kind of settings you use and if this was helpful. By the way, another cool feature with the haptics, and this was in ACC, and this was also in it's also in Le Mans Ultimate, that if you're running stiff front suspension, or you're losing, like you make your car setup wrong, you'll feel the haptics interfere as well. So when you have you're building a car setup, for instance, and you're relying on a very stiff front axle, and add a bunch of packers, you break your normal braking performance, and you feel the ABS all of a sudden starts to intervene, and I'm like, dang, I just changed so much on the suspension that I now see that my ABS is interfering more quickly, and then I immediately know that is gonna cost me braking performance. There's something wrong with the car setup. Maybe you think to yourself, man, what kind of rig is he actually using? Well, I completely built it myself, and if you're interested in that video, highly recommend to watch this one, because it explains my whole racing room and all the things that I use to sim race. Thanks for watching.